Hi everyone, my name is Jaitni and I am a mindset and nutrition coach. So I help clients cope with stress, depression, or anxiety through healthy habit formation, lifestyle changes, and incorporating proper nutrition. Every week I drop a wellness related video. So if wellness interests you or intrigues you, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're more of a reader and enjoy reading about wellness related topics, then make sure to subscribe to my bi-weekly blog. And lastly, you can follow me on Instagram at Imperfect Bodies by C Modi. So with that out of the way, let's talk about this week's topic. It is how to manage self-doubt like a boss. So very often, especially for many of us, myself included, sometimes that inner critic can be really loud and noisy and unnecessary. And the funny thing is, it always gets louder when we're really trying to get out of our comfort zone. So a little bit of self-doubt is acceptable, because it keeps you humble, it keeps you conscientious. However, when that self-doubt is persistent and it just won't go away and it's always there like your BFF, there is something that needs to be done about it, right? You want to try and manage it and you want to try and overcome it, especially when it's trying to hold you back and keep you away from achieving your goals. So that's what this week's video is about. I share 5 tips that can really help you manage that self-doubt and hopefully eventually overcome it. So a lot of these tips that I'm going to share with you, I have used them personally. As always, take what makes sense to you, experiment with them, come up with your own, and make sure to share with me and let me know how you felt about it. So tip number 1 is name your inner critic. I know this sounds a little silly, but that voice in your head, that negative voice, that naysayer, you want to give it a name and an identity. The minute you do that, it really strips it of all its power that it has over you. So that's why you want to do it. You want to separate it from your true and authentic self. Because the real you, it doesn't have those doubts. The real you is unafraid. This is just what's built over time. It's how you've been conditioned to manage your fears, to manage difficult circumstances. Because your body and mind have one job, and that is to protect you at all costs. So that's what you've learned over the years. That's been your coping mechanism, is you have that voice that says, no, you can't do it. No, you won't be able to do it. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough, or whatever it is. And that's what holds you back and keeps you in your cocoon. So when you start to think of it that way, you realize, all right, it's just a voice. It's not who I am. It's not, who I need to be. I can change, because you can undo that conditioning. You can separate from it. So that's why you want to name that inner critic. Fun fact, mine is named Lola. Don't ask me why, but that's who Lola is. And sometimes I just have to say, shut up, Lola. I don't need to hear what you have to say to me. So name that inner critic, because it will really help you separate the two, and it will help you realize that what it's saying really doesn't have that much power over you. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is you really need to come from a place of gratitude. I know gratitude is a word that gets thrown around a lot nowadays, but when you come from that place of being thankful, you can really manage that self-doubt like a boss. What I mean by that is, let's say you're an introvert and you need to give a presentation or a speech to the executive committee at work. So you have all the head honchos there. It's the ECs. You need to make sure that you're really on the ball and you know what you're doing. So instead of thinking about, I'm an introvert, this is really not my thing. What if I don't do well? What if I trip over my words? What if I'm not clear in my presentation? Worrying about the what if. Instead, if you came from a place of thinking, what? As an introvert, I do have very strong qualities of being detail-oriented, of being prepared, of having practiced a bunch of times, of having thought of every single question that could be thrown my way, or of presenting myself as a very calm and composed person. So focus on your strengths, focus on those things and be grateful for those qualities and those characteristics that you have. So practice gratitude in any way that makes sense to you. I just shared a really simple example, but one that's pretty common, one that I've been through as well. So focus on the positive and be thankful for it. Don't just list out the positives, but actually be grateful for, for whatever you're thankful for. And that could be a quality, a trait, a characteristic. It could be, an act, a behavior, a past experience, an opportunity. Because, when you take on that really challenging project at work, or you end up in a new role at work, and you feel like a fish out of water, this is where you need to come from. When you come from a place of gratitude, you'll be able to manage a lot of that self-doubt and those gremlins really well and eventually overcome it. And then number 3 is you need to surround yourself with a worthy support system. So the people around you, the people in your circle matter. They have a pretty heavy influence on your thinking patterns, on your behaviors, and your actions. So be mindful of who you allow into that circle. If you have people who make fun of you, who bash you, who feed that negativity in you and that self-doubt in you, they need to exit. If you can't cut off ties with them, which I understand, you need to start really working on limiting your interactions with them, and also not sharing everything that you normally share with them. Always remember that your story is a privilege. So it's a privilege to be heard, it's a privilege to be understood. So not everyone gets to hear your story. So that's number 1, is you need to be very mindful of the people who are in your environment and who are influencing you. Number 2 is, just a subtopic of this is you also need to pay attention to your behaviors and your actions. So what is part of your ecosystem is also the social media that you expose yourself to, the books that you read, the videos you watch, maybe the quotes that you come across, the food you eat, the way you take care of your health. All of that is part of that ecosystem. And all of that is a part of your support system too. It's how you are supporting your mental health and your physical health. So be careful about that. What kind of social media do you consume? What kind of television do you watch? What kind of books are you reading? Do you have really positive, inspiring quotes that surround you? Or, do you have something that's really kind of holding you back? So start paying attention to that, every little bit that's a part of your environment, whether it's the home environment or the work environment. And when it comes to your health, how you eat and what you eat is also going to have an impact on your self-doubt. Imagine if you're somebody who chooses veggies and fruits and water and getting enough sleep over, soda, over junk food, over processed food, over just sleeping 4 hours or 5 hours. Imagine the confidence level, right? It's going to be very different. So that is also something you want to keep in mind. So when I say surround yourself with a worthy support system, that is also a part of it, is making sure you get enough sleep, is making sure you make healthy choices for your life, for your mental health and your physical health. Tip number 4 is nurture yourself. So just doubting and feeding that doubt is not enough. Work on what is going to help you not doubt yourself. So of course, a big part is, reframing and really paying attention to the negative thought pattern. But something else is, if you really do feel like you're not a very good public speaker, or if you really do feel like, you're not somebody who's very good at dating, or if you're, somebody who's not very good at Excel, I'm just throwing out examples out there. Whatever it is, then go ahead, learn about it. Take a class, invest in yourself. If you want to be that dancer, if you want to be a pro at Excel, or if you want to get better at anything, put in the time, money, and effort. Don't let that hold you back. But make sure you draw a line, because some of it is just going to be garbage that you're telling yourself. You might already be a phenomenal public speaker, but it might just be that chatter, that negative chatter that's holding you back. So pay attention to that. Is it real, or is this a story that you're telling yourself? And if it is real, and if it is something that you can work on, then, as I said, invest in yourself, nurture yourself with whatever you need to do. It could also be the kind of people you surround yourself with. Isolating is not an option. We don't isolate, we don't hide under the covers. So, you want to choose that support system wisely. Is, who can you be comfortable and candid around? What does that person look like, or what does that crowd look like for you? So make sure you find that. There is a solution to everything. But if you come from a place of I can't, I won't, I'm not sure, that solution is never going to feel like a solution. It's just going to feel like an obstacle. So make sure you nurture yourself, make sure you do what you need to do in a realistic fashion and with real expectations, just so that's another way that you can chip away at that self-doubt. And then tip number 5, which is really important, it's taken me a long time to fully embrace it, and that is stop putting so much pressure on yourself when it comes to the outcome. So stop focusing so much on the outcome and really focus on the process, because you can control the time and energy and effort you put into something. You can give it 100%. You can give your hard work, you can give your time, you can give your energy. Those are all things that you can control. The effort that you put in is something you can control, but the end result, not so much. If you've given something your 100%, there are going to be no regrets, or maybe regrets for a very short time until you realize you did everything you possibly could, but things didn't work out. You absorb the lessons that you had to learn, and you try again and you move on, right? So that is the key, is focus on the effort and not so much on the end result. You basically need to take that pressure off yourself so you can flourish. So those are the 5 tips that I shared with you, right? 1 is name your inner critic. 2 is make sure you surround yourself with a worthy support system. 3 is, come from a place of gratitude. 4 is nurture yourself. And 5 is really pay attention to the process and not the end result. When you start to do all of this, or even take some of these suggestions, or even one of this suggestion, it's at least a step in the right direction. You're addressing the fact that you do experience self-doubt. And, the truth is everybody does. The wisest, the most successful, the most beautiful, whatever label you want to give somebody, everybody goes through some level of self-doubt. But what matters is how much you're experiencing and how frequently. So the quicker you can bounce back from some of that negativity and that negative voice in your head, and the less of that, the better off you're going to be. So that's what these tips are. That's what these suggestions are, is to start pushing you in that right direction and changing your behavior pattern and changing your thought pattern. So instead of defaulting to I can't, I won't, it's not possible, you start to default to it is possible, let me think about it, it's going to be hard, but I can do hard things. So you have to shift that thought pattern pretty drastically. So let me know how this goes for you. Even if you just pick one suggestion, let me know how it works. I'm always curious to know. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope to catch you here next week. In the meantime, please take good care of yourself.